Okay, we're going to put the air cleaner housing back on, and it's also the carburetor hold down. These two nuts right here. Squeeze the whole thing together just like you took it off, and then we'll reinstall the gas tank, and then I'm going to start to get it ready to put on the bike. Okay, as you can see, I mounted the engine. Just to describe how I did that, I positioned the engine without the secondary mounting plate, and I marked around it with a Sharpie marker, and then I marked through the holes of the engine onto the plate, and then I took the engine out. Then I centered the holes in the mounting plate in the middle of the holes for the engine, and then I marked out the holes that mount to the frame, because there's 8 holes in there, 4 for the engine, 4 for the frame. So I drew a line inside the ones that mount on the frame. I had to drill 4 holes for those, and I'll lay the bike over and you can see where they are. And then I just put it together. You can use your imagination with that a little bit. It's not too difficult. I can't give you accurate measurements because every bike might be a little bit different, but mostly you just want to take a yardstick and line up that chain and make sure that the sprockets are in line, and then put the chain on and eyeball it and kind of get it straight. Now things are falling into place very easily. You can see where we did the wiring before. This is the wire from the coil before, and it plugged into the switch like we talked about. And then I took the old Doodlebug from the Doodlebug ground and switch, and I grounded it right there where the old oil sensor was, or I'm sorry, the oil amplifier for the low oil sensor. And now I'm going to take this one, and instead of putting the oil amplifier in there, I'm going to put the other Doodlebug connection in there, and you're going to have a 2 shut-off switches, one down here on the engine and one up top, just for safety. So that's that. That's how I mounted the engine. Okay, now the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to add this neato cover that I got that covers all of the gears and parts, and it's really a nice unit. It's solid aluminium. It's got a mounting bracket and quick release springs, and it comes with all the hardware, and it fits on the inside over here like so, and then there's 2 quick release springs inside of there and a couple little bolts that fit over it. They're a special little bolt, see, for easy release, and then it should cover up the whole side. So I'm sorry, this part comes with little holes that mount right to the inside right there, and then it just sits right on the face. Nice chain protector, and you can use the chain guard too. So I'm going to shorten the chain because I've just sat it on loosely for alignment, and I just pulled a little tension to align it so it was nice and straight. And now I'm going to shorten the chain, get that right, adjust it all, and then I'm going to put the guard on and bring it downstairs, and I think she's just about ready to go after a few more things. Okay, here's a small modification I made to the chain guard, and that's because the new engine is taller and the chain goes uphill slightly. So when the chain tightens, it clacks against that little part right there. Now, this portion here is underneath the new guard anyhow. So I just took out a little tiny square with a pair of snips, and it should eliminate the chain hitting that part because it kind of angles down when it's in its normal position. So, and the chain's going up. So now we're going to have an acceleration clank. Every time the tension goes into the chain rises slightly and clanks against there. So that'll eliminate that problem. There, isn't that dandy? It's got a new cover, and the chain guard's back on, and it's modified, and the chain is in place, tensioned, and the master link is connected properly. So that's it for installing the chain. So you have to slide the motor back and forth to adjust the chain tension, and put on all your side covers like so, and there's no risk for Junior getting his fingers or pants leg caught in there. Okay, just to go over the wiring one more time, this is the original Doodlebug cable in my hand, and what I've done is connected it into the Y at the Harbor Freight engine. This is the Y that went to the oil amplifier, the little square box that was mounted here before. And where the oil amplifier was, I put the bolt back in with the with the Doodlebug ground, and that's its new ground point. Also, I left the existing switch in, and the existing ground went to the existing point on the engine. So we'll just keep this in the on position, and we have a secondary shut off if we ever need it. And this black wire between my fingers here, this one here, is the one that comes from the coil, and that connects into the other side of the Y on the Doodlebug engine. So this coated black one goes over to the coil. So now I'm going to put them all back into the little pill box that it came with, and that's it for the wiring. So we have the original Doodlebug switch up here, and we have another switch down below. Very simple. Get rid of all the oil, low oil sensor stuff, and you have all the wiring almost falls into place, and you can see it underneath there. That's the plug that I installed for the low oil sensor where it came out of the engine. Nice and flush, looks very professional. Okay, I'm going to come back to the throttle one more time because that's a tricky part. But also I wanted to point out the little lever that's on here. I just took a giant pair of bolt cutters and I cut that off cleanly, as you can see. And I was a little bit worried about my son's leg hitting that when he's in a corner or something and pushing it backwards and accelerating the bike unintentionally. So that being said, I'll also give you another view of how the throttle is put together so you can study it for a second. It's very difficult sometimes when you look at these schematics online to figure them out, but I'll move the throttle slowly so you get the idea. This little rod here I bent and pretty much made it goes over and down, and then the original clip goes into the rotating butterfly valve, and this was the part that came off the governor originally, and you can see how I bent it. And this is the original arm that came with the bike. This piece is from Hot Rod Mini Bikes. This piece is from Hot Rod Mini Bikes, and this angle and this additional spring is from Hot Rod Mini Bikes. I took the original spring, which was mounted over here before, and I moved it over here so that they don't interfere with each other, because the way they showed it in their diagram, the two of these were on the same lug and they were kind of getting twisted together. So now we have double return spring power, so when you let it go, it comes back. The other thing I did was I took apart the throttle and gave it a thorough greasing, and I used this little gizmo and shot some multi-use Teflon lubricant down the cable, so it's really nice and smooth. That's what I used. And you just stick the straw in that little tool in it. You keep spraying until it comes out on this end, and it's dry. It doesn't attract anything, rust or dirt or anything like that. So it's a dry lubricant. Works very, very well. And in fact, one of the things I wanted to do when I think of it was give this a squirt down in there, and that should be okay. Just give it a little coating to prevent rust and keep it moving. So that actually works like a charm. Let me go underneath here so you can see how it works. I hope it can focus in there. I know I'm spending a lot of time on the throttle, but it was one of those things that people seem to have different ideas about, and all of the ones I saw on YouTube before I did my own bike modifications were using the governor system somehow. And really, we want to get the governor out of the bike, because the governor controls the butterfly in the carburetor, and frankly, when you accelerate, it turns it off. And just taking the governor out of the bike and getting control of your throttle makes an enormous difference. You'll beat any warrior out there with a 6.5 that's box stock by far, just by getting rid of your governor. And I know this bike is going to be a lot faster than a warrior that hasn't had its governor removed. So definitely something to do. So, and that's why so much emphasis on how the throttle works, because it's really kind of just made up. So anyway, there you go.